Hi, welcome back to Blue Mountain Bushcraft and Outdoors. Today we're going to talk about a couple of knives. They're budget knives from Schrade, pretty decent blades. But first we need to work on a very essential survival skill, and that's fitness. Join me for a little trail ride. That's halfway. Finish up, whip out some knives. Okay guys, we've done our running and it's time to talk about some knives. So the ones that I brought out today to talk about are a pair of Schrades, and you guys have probably seen these before. They're not very new. I got them probably last fall, and frankly, unlike most knives that I review, I have not used these a whole lot, and I'm going to show you why. The knives in question are the SCHF56 and its bigger brother, the 56L. Okay, these both have the same handles, same blade thicknesses, just different length blades. But there are some important differences between these two knives, and I want to talk about those a little bit. Most of the reviews that I've already seen for these knives, the only difference that they really talk about with them is that 1 inch of blade length. Like I said, they're both have the same handles, same thicknesses of the stock. So you would think that really the only major difference with these would be with the length of the blades. But there are some very important differences here between these two that you should probably know about before you go and decide which one you want. I should mention that both of these knives are Schrade's 1095 steel. They both seem to have a pretty nice heat treat on them. They hold an edge pretty well. They have, this model in particular has the rubberized TPE handle scales. And I like these handles quite a bit, and I like the feel of this TPE. It's relatively hard, but it's almost got a soft touch to it. It's hard to describe unless you've actually held on to it. There's really no give to it, but I don't know, it just feels good to the hand, and the pattern that they've chosen is pretty grippy. I like these handles quite a bit. There's no finger grooves in them. There's no jimping anywhere on here. Bravo, Schrade. Way to go. There's some little relief cut divots in here where your hands fit into the grip. And that's, you know, evident on both of them since both the grips are identical. I really like the grips on these quite a bit. I think they're also coming out with these in micarta. I don't know if those are out yet or not, but for me, I really like the TPE handles. Both of these knives also have Schrade's new coating. I don't know what this stuff is called, but it's a very smooth, almost Teflon-like finish. It holds up decently well, not too bad. So let's adjust the camera so you can get a look at the main difference and why I like one of these a lot more than I like the other. Okay, so the thing that really sets these two knives apart for me is the grind. Okay, so both of these knives feature a hollow ground blade, and at first glance they look identical, but they're not. Get this blade of grass out of the way. I get filming out here in a field. If you'll look at these knives carefully, you'll see that the 56 has a higher grind than the 56L does. What that means is the grind comes up higher towards the spine of the blade. There's more material dished out here in this hollow grind than there is in the 56L. And what that gives you with a 56, at least on my two models here, is a thinner edge. And a thinner edge is very important with these blades because look at how thick they are. Maybe that hasn't sunk in because you don't have a point of reference. This is the 56 and a standard Mora companion. Do you see what I mean? I don't remember. I think these are 5 mil thick. I don't know. They're not 1/4 inch. They're probably pretty close to 3/16, but they're tanks. And it's the thickness of these blades that really kind of turns me off to them. The handles are great. The grinds aren't bad. The steel's good. The overall size is good. But when you start getting into blade stock that thick, boy, your grind better be spot on. You're going to have a blade that is pretty much just a sharpened pry bar. And unfortunately, especially with this 56L, that's kind of where we're at in the sharpened pry bar arena. And for that reason, that's why you don't see a whole lot of use on these knives. I just have not taken them. I've taken them out, I've used them some, I've tried them out. I just don't care for them. Not because of the quality, not because of the way that they're built, but that edge geometry for me is just killer, especially on this one. Like I said, there's a big difference between the two of these. The 56 is higher. It's got a thinner edge than the 56L does. I presume that they're all made the same way. I think we can perhaps demonstrate this better by looking at those tips. And you see the difference? This is the 56L. Look how much stouter that tip is as opposed to the 56. You can see how much less material there is coming down into that tip. It's still plenty stout, more than stout enough, but it's a much finer tip and it's a much thinner edge. Let's flip these knives around. Let's see if you can see that in the edge itself. I think you can see it there. Just how much more material there is behind the edge of the L than there is behind the edge of the 56. And what that translates to is the 56, although being shorter, it is a much, much better cutter. And it does knife things much better than the 56L does. See if I can demonstrate that on this piece of wood. I don't know what this is. I just picked it up along the trail coming out here, but it's dead, it's old, and it's pretty hard. Just simple push cut with a 56. If I can get it to where you can see it. Sorry, I've got my small tripod out today. Not bad. Not a Scandi grind, but it's all right. That does a pretty decent job. That's the 56. Let's move up, same piece of wood. Let's do that with a 56L. Same piece of wood, same diameter. I just can't get this to sink in as far. And it's simply because of the edge geometry. They're both about the same sharpness. It just is not a very efficient cutter at all. It just has bad edge geometry. So for me, this one is just a non-starter. It's hard for me to really show you exactly what I mean out here, but hopefully I've been able to demonstrate what I'm talking about. You know, if you're in the market for a sharpened pry bar, if you want a smaller Becker BK2, here you go. The 56L is your go-to. It's super thick. It's got a monstrously thick tip. It's got a thick edge. It's a wedge. Single split wood, but cutting, just is not great at doing knife things. The standard 56, on the other hand, does a pretty decent job. While it has the same thick blade stock, that higher grind, that deeper hollow grind, thins that edge out enough to give this pretty good cutting geometry. So if you're looking for a really stout, heavy-duty bushcraft knife that's able to do bushcraft things and is reasonably efficient at cutting, I can recommend this one. This one's not bad. I like the 56. And I'll probably put this to a bit more use. I forgot to mention that there's the ferro rods. They both come with ferro rods. These particular models come with the nylon sheaths. They have leather sheaths for them. I think the micarta ones come with Kydex sheaths, but they all have sharp spines. They do a good job at scraping material, scraping ferro rods. So if you're looking for a stout, relatively low cost 1095 bushcraft knife and you don't mind the thickness, this isn't bad. For me, guys, honestly, they're too thick, both of them. As much better as the 56 is, it's still not anywhere remotely as good a bushcraft knife as the standard Mora. Of course, which one's going to take more abuse? You know, I guess it depends on what you're going to do with your knives. If you want a cutter, as I say, stick with these, but if you want something that's brutishly strong and still reasonably good at doing what it needs to do, check it out. You'll probably like it, and if you don't, you're not out a whole lot of money. But Schrade's up to something with these, or I should say onto something with these. I like the form factor. I love the handles, and a good handle on a knife is half the battle. So I think if they can maintain the handle geometry, thin these blades down, and fix the edge geometry, they're gonna have a pair of winners on their hands. So that's all I got for you on these knives, guys. Sorry, like I said, usually I take these things out and I use them pretty hard for a while, but just not for me. This one will stick around. I'll probably give this one away. So, all right, guys. Time to run back to the truck, start sweating some more. Till the next time, see ya.